It's time for this week's episode of Brandon Sports Talk, featuring in-depth interviews from those who are trending in the world of athletics. And now, here's the host of Brandon Sports Talk, Brandon Pate.
Welcome back to Brandon Sports Talk. In today's episode, I have the privilege to interview the UMBC Golden Retrievers assistant volleyball coach, Coach Jaime Kosiorek. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Excited to chat about sports.
Thank you. Can you talk about how you knew that you wanted to get started in coaching in college volleyball?
Yeah, it's kind of a funny story. I played volleyball my whole life. So I started when I was like 13. Have always been in sports ever since I was little. I always thought I wanted to be a teacher. So like when I was young, like middle school, high school, in college, I majored in education. People were always like, oh, you should think about coaching. I was like very quick to be like, no, I'm good. Like, I don't want to spend the rest of my life in convention centers. I love volleyball, but I don't think I'll ever coach. And that was kind of my quick answer when I was little. And even into college, when I was playing college volleyball, I never thought I would coach. I don't know. And then played volleyball at Ohio University, had an awesome career, awesome experience. Didn't really know what I wanted to do post-college. So went and played pro, more for the fact to live in Europe versus going to play more volleyball. Kind of wanted to use volleyball as like the vehicle to get me to live in a really cool European country. So I lived in Copenhagen, Denmark. It was awesome. And actually when I was in Copenhagen is kind of when I decided or realized like, I think I want to coach. My coach when I played pro was awesome guy. But there was a little bit of a language barrier, as you do when you move to a foreign country. And I just kind of remember him being like, we just need to work harder and then we'll win. I'm like, well, no, we need to, do this in practice and we need to do this in practice and we need to watch this on video and this on video. And if we do that, we're good. Like we're good. But I just remember being a little bit more nuanced than just, hey, we need to work harder. And I was like, at that point, I had torn my ACL previously in college. So I was about 2 years out. And I was like, I just don't know if I want to put my body, through volleyball anymore. I'd kind of like to, switch the passion to something new. And then when I was in Denmark, I was like, I think I want to coach. And then, got in contact with some people that I had met over the years through volleyball and kind of was like, okay, like I want to coach. And then pretty early on, I wanted to do it at a college level. So there wasn't really ever a time where I was like, I need to coach so badly. I want to coach at like, 13s or 14s. I kind of made the decision at the beginning. I'm like, hey, I think I want to try to make the career kind of coaching. So in college sports. And so, yeah, that was kind of the moment. I was in Denmark. I was like, I think I want to coach. So I hung up the shoes and went and volunteered at Cincinnati in the middle of COVID. So here we are.
Of course, what was your collegiate playing career like? And what was it like getting to put on that jersey for Ohio?
Yeah, the collegiate playing experience was incredible. It was probably the most defining thing of my life, just because a lot of my life before college was dedicated to volleyball. I think the years of like 18 to 22 are very formative, especially for young females. So it was for me. Fast forward, that's kind of also why I got into coaching, is I think it's cool to like be a part of that part of somebody's life. So yeah, I mean, I was a kid from Ohio. I grew up in Cleveland. So recruiting was kind of wild, but Ohio kind of came in a little bit later to like my recruiting situation. And honestly, the one thing that kind of stuck out to me the most was that they won, right? So I was kind of like that tweener recruit. I could have probably gone Power 5, the big Power 5. Probably wouldn't have played a lot, probably would have been more of like a role player. And so in recruiting, I kind of realized, hey, I want to go somewhere and like compete for a spot early on. I like to win. My club team growing up was pretty good. So winning was something that I had been around. I understood kind of the work that you had to do to win, and I wanted to be around that. And so Ohio kind of embodied everything that I wanted into a school. I love the school, go Bobcats. But they had won the MAC, I think the past 2 years before I committed, had a history of winning. The culture was awesome. The coaches were awesome. And so it pretty much aligned with everything I wanted. So Ohio, very proud Bobcat. But to answer your question, I had a great college experience. The program was awesome. It was really well run. I had the same coach, actually. The coach that I committed to ended up leaving my senior year in high school. And so I actually ended up playing for a coach that I did not commit to, which was a little bit different. But it was awesome. Dean Webb, he was great. And the girls are incredible. So, and then just in terms of volleyball, we won the MAC my first 2 years and then did not win after that, unfortunately. But just really competitive environment. A lot was expected of me. A lot was expected of the girls around me. So it was, you put a lot of your time and energy into that, and it was awesome. I was an outside hitter, and yeah, it was awesome. Had some all conference accolades and broke a couple records. So everything that I wanted out of my college experience, it was good.
How did your professional time and your college time help you to where you got the start as a college coach?
Well, I think it helped a lot. I think luckily I had a good experience in college. And like I said before, it kind of shaped a lot of who I am, as an adult. And so just kind of having that experience for myself, I wanted to, be in a career where I could help facilitate that experience for other young people, specifically young women. And so that's probably the backbone of why I coach. And then the pro career was, like I said, I realized I wanted to coach while I was in Denmark. So in terms of like the most influential part of my coaching career, I think that would probably be there because I was in, Copenhagen when I realized it. But and then I think the pro career, it just gave me a different kind of lens to volleyball because, volleyball in Europe is very different than volleyball in America. So it just kind of gave me a broader appreciation for the sport, a broader appreciation for people who aren't, like me, who maybe were raised differently than I was and value different things. So I think it was kind of a nice summation to my youth before I kind of got into this college coaching career. So yeah.
What was it like first starting off as a volunteer assistant and going to Cincinnati?
I loved my volunteer experience. I really did. It was kind of funny. That was the first time coaching, college coaching. And it was in the middle of COVID. It was that COVID spring. So it was wild. And I was working at Trader Joe's. That was my full-time job. I loved it. I love Trader Joe's. And I was kind of met with the decision. I actually applied for a corporate job in sales because at the time, COVID was running the world. So everything was shut down. The entire fall volleyball season was shut down. There was no volleyball. And I'm like, I don't know if this is ever going to be the same again. My husband, now husband, fiance at the time, was in Cincinnati. So I wanted to be near him. Luckily, I had some contacts in Cincinnati. So they were looking for a volunteer. And I kind of came to this December moment. I'm like, either I take this, entry-level sales job and go work, in the corporate world, or I continue my Trader Joe's experience and go volunteer at a, Division I program who had just graduated an Olympian. So I was like, I'm going to go with the passion. I think I'm going to be a coach. I think this is the right decision. So I turned down the, sales job offer. And then, yeah, Cincinnati was awesome. I have a lot of respect for female coaches. So I think the big thing for me was just being able to work under Molly Alvey at Cincinnati was huge because she kind of embodied just the general role that I hope to, one day wanted to become. I don't know if I want to be a head coach right now, but at the time she was awesome. And I really liked her, just what kind of work ethic. She was honestly like the first one in the gym. We practiced at like 7 a.m. and she was always the first one there, like kind of doing her own little workout or like planning practice. And so I appreciated the work she put in to be, the coach that she is. And then just the program, Cincinnati Volleyball, was awesome. The culture was really fun and I just really enjoyed it. So it was a really positive first experience. And I was like, yes, I definitely want to do this. I remember I had the task of, she gave me an iPad and I learned how to chart for the first time. And I remember her saying to me, like, I probably won't ask you during a match, what your charts are. If I ever do ask for something, you better have it ready. And I was like, done. And so I was like, it was the first time in my coaching volleyball experience that I was like actually coaching and I was like charting versus like just kind of being a fan of the sport or watching from the sideline. So a lot of respect for Molly, a lot of respect for Phil and Kev. Those are the other two coaches. And yeah, so it was fun. I mean, it was COVID, so it wasn't like the full season, but really positive experience and kind of catapulted. And so it solidified my decision of like wanting to be a coach for my career.
What was it like the first time you got your full-time assistant coaching job?
So that was Duquesne. Duquesne was awesome. I remember going on campus, hanging out with their staff, and really Pittsburgh's a really cool area of the country. Again, I'm from Cleveland, so the proximity to home was nice. And just the fact that I couldn't get over the fact that somebody wanted to pay me full time to be an assistant coach. I'm like, this is like a dream. I get to go into work every day and work with all these girls. And, at the time it was kind of still like big bug-eyed. I was like, oh my God, this profession is so cool. And yeah, I just couldn't get over the fact that somebody wanted to pay me full time and like give me benefits and a phone and to coach volleyball for a living. So really thankful for Duquesne. Good experience there. So yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome.
Of course, during your time at Duquesne, what were some of your accomplishments and how did it help you to where you are now?
Yeah, I think back to Duquesne, it was just kind of a whirlwind for me because I was so excited. So I probably came in guns blazing and probably rocked their world just in terms of energy. But a lot of good things from Duquesne. That head coach I worked for had been there for, I think, like over 30 years. So and had won in that conference. So just kind of observing what he did and how he ran his program. The girls were incredible, which I think speaks a lot to the head coach. Some of the accomplishments, we had I think we went 500 at the end of the year. I don't know, maybe a little bit under 500. But I got to work a lot with the blockers and the middle. And we kind of created this like little middle squad. And that was a lot of fun just watching them compete and practice. The thing that I think back of is at practice, like it was kind of less about the games. And I just remember being more involved working with them in practice and seeing kind of their growth, which was really cool. And seeing them kind of celebrate each other was pretty special. And then at Duquesne, I also did a lot of like the operation side of things. So I did like all of our food and travel. And so I always say, if I'm ever head coach, I swear I'm going to pay my Dovo $1 million because that job is no joke. And I don't think people in that role get enough credit. So just kind of being exposed to that had the whole new appreciation for, kind of the backbone of why programs are successful. It really is. You have to have a whole kind of army behind you versus just like a head coach and the players. There's so many other people that help a program succeed. So just kind of appreciating that a lot more. And then I actually had a really great relationship with the other assistant coach that I worked at Duquesne with, Fran. Taught me a lot just about, what a good assistant looks like, what goes in, where to put your focus and attention. So really thankful for my time at Duquesne.
What was the transition like for you from going from Duquesne to UMBC?
Yeah, I smile because it's I love my job here and I'm thankful every day for this, but it was cool. I had met, so my boss at UMBC, he got hired And I think it's almost a year. I think he got hired in February. Previously was the associate head coach at Miami. And kind of was announced that, he was going to be the head coach at UMBC. I know his girlfriend really well. I played at ABC in Cleveland. She is the recruiting coordinator and like one of the club directors at ABC. So I think she put in a nice word for me. And it's kind of cool, like how to see our relationship evolve, because I knew her when I was 15 and now she's one of my very good friends. And so I think she must have said some nice things or said, hey, this is, maybe someone you should look at as an assistant. And so I got a call from Casey, my boss, and he just kind of given me a little spiel of, how we got hired. He's really excited. He thinks this UMBC volleyball can be pretty special. And was just kind of seeing if there was any interest for me in being a part of it and being, one of his assistants. The one thing that he is the best, I'll probably talk about him a lot more. But it was cool. I thought I had a really good feeling after the first call. And then, lo and behold, you start asking around and some pretty high regarded volleyball people in the volleyball world. And they're like, oh my God, Casey's the next X, Y, and Z coach. And just people had really awesome things to say about him. And so the more people said that, I was like, oh my God, this opportunity is awesome. And then just kind of objectively, I was a second assistant at Duquesne. This was a first assistant spot with significantly more money, which was nice. And then also this position at UMBC, he was looking for a recruiting coordinator, and recruiting had been something that I had always thought I would be interested in and maybe good at one day. I didn't do a ton of it at Duquesne. So the fact that this opportunity was presenting itself was really kind of like, whoa, like this is cool. Back before I wanted to be a coach, the two roles, it was going to either be like medical sales or coaching. So people had always told me I'd maybe be good at sales. And so recruiting started he talked about recruiting and I just, again, big bug-eyed. I'm like, this sounds awesome. And so, that was kind of the experience with UMBC. And then it was kind of cool because he called me and I was like, I gotta be honest, I don't know anything about UMBC. I could not tell you like really any of the schools that were in the conference. I keep spelling Binghamton with a P. People get mad here. It's a whole thing. I was like, I think you guys beat Virginia in like 2018 or something, like the big basketball upset when UMBC beat Virginia. And he's like, yep, that's the same. And that's the same thing that I had. So him and I had kind of similar stories about UMBC. And then just kind of being able to come on campus and seeing the area was cool. It's a really cool area, the city or in the country. We live in Baltimore. The university is just right outside of Baltimore. My husband and I live in like a cute little row home in the city. So really cool area of the country. Again, kind of going back to one of the reasons why I chose Ohio. One of the reasons that Casey thought this job would be good is that the previous 2 years before they had gotten hired, they had won their conference. So winning was something that the girls not were used to. I don't want to ever say that, but it was something that they had experienced in their experience and since their experience as college athletes. And so that was, again, the winning was attractive, and to work under somebody who had a really clear idea of what he wanted to put into play and what he wanted his program to be about. It made for a really easy transition. And again, to this day, he's wonderful to follow. So it was cool. It was kind of a whirlwind of a time. I mean, March of last year was nuts. And then on top of it, I got married New Year's Eve this past like literally 2 weeks ago. So it was kind of a big, huge transition with everything, but Casey, he was great. And very happy I came here.
How was that feeling like the first time you got to sit in that first seat on game day?
It was awesome. And it's funny, I stand because I cannot sit. Again, if he wanted me to sit, I would sit. But he was like, oh, you can stand. So I stand during matches. I stand kind of back with my clipboard and hopefully next year it's an iPad because the papers they fly everywhere. But to your point, I think it was really special. I remember because we were at our first match was at versus Villanova at USC in this Galen Center, which is like this historic facility. And I remember the first serve, going over, and I'm like, I have no idea like what we're going to, how we compare to, Villanova, or just I don't know how we compare to anybody because it's our first match. I can talk a little about it and, later, but we do some funky stuff in terms of training. It's different. It's cool. I'm all in on it. Our program's all in on it, but it was just kind of the first like test, I guess. And for me, just kind of being where I was and then like looking down, because Casey stands like way at the end line, seeing him and then, our other coaches kind of with us, it was just kind of this really special moment of like, this is really cool. I'm very grateful that this is, my job. And we're about to play Villanova, a Big East team in the Galen Center in Los Angeles, California. So it was just really cool. I don't know, just really cool feeling. And then we actually won versus Villanova, which that was chaotic. So yeah, good things, all good things.
What does a typical game day look like for you as a coach?
Away or home? I guess they're kind of similar.
First home.
For home. Typical game day for us. Honestly, this past year we had official visits on pretty much all of them. So I do a lot of our recruiting. So the visits for me, I would wake up very early, and it would be a lot of it was spent with the recruit. But no, I think it's pretty, simple. We wake up, probably get to the office around 9 or 10, depending on if it's an evening game, 9 or 10. And then if it's a 1 p.m. game, we play on Fridays and Sundays. We get to the office. There's usually some video that has to be finished up a little bit. And then with our girls, we have a pregame meal, and then they eat, and then we all go into the locker room and we review the video from the couple practices before, or not practices, the days before, and we just kind of summarize what, the game plan is going to be. And then usually there's a serve and pass, 30 minutes. So the girls just kind of get to move around and again, do some stuff that we'll probably do in the game. And then we go change and we talk to the girls and then we play. It's honestly probably pretty standard to what everybody else does on game days, but game days are my fave. I really like them a lot.
Of course, as a recruitment coordinator, what does a typical day look like as a recruitment coordinator, showing, of course, those prospective student athletes the campus and stuff?
Yeah. So are you asking more of like what my day looks like, or more of like what the official visits look like for the girls, or unofficial?
What more the official visits look like?
Yeah. It depends on the person. So all of our recruits usually, they want to see different stuff, or different things are more important to them. So we cater it to what their like needs are, or not needs, but just kind of what they want to see. It usually involves a campus tour. It involves usually going into the city of Baltimore, because like I said, it's pretty cool down there. I love it. So I think it's fun to like get dinner on the water, or lunch on the water. Hopefully it involves a match, so they can see what a match looks like. We have a really special arena with like it kind of gives that like high major feel. Like it's beautiful. We have a giant video board. So hopefully they could see that. The big thing we want them to see is practice. So like I said, we do some not funky stuff. We train a little bit differently than I think a lot of people. And so it's really important for us to have the recruits see how we train. We place a lot of value on practice. So that's important. We want them to see practice. I like to have them spend as much time with the girls as possible, just because that's who they're going to be with and around. So it's important that they see, what the team is like. But yeah, pretty standard stuff. Yeah, that's probably what it's, and then it's kind of changes based on timeline, if they have to fly into the airport or if they drive in, the hotel stuff. But yeah.
Who are some of the teams that you face typically each week?
So we're in the America East Conference, Division I. We play, I don't know if I can list them all off. Binghamton, Bryant, UNH, NJIT, Albany. Oh, I think there's one more that I'm forgetting. I don't know. I think I'm forgetting one more, but I would say the two. So the Binghamton is probably one of our biggest rivals. They won the regular season this past year. Very good. And then UNH and Bryant are probably the other two, at least this past year, top dogs. So we ended up playing New Hampshire in the America East Championship and won. So yeah, but I mean, everybody in the conference has been great. The coaches are really nice. Hopefully it's a good conference again this year. But yeah, those are probably the main ones.
Can you talk about, of course, the culture that you've helped build for the volleyball program?
Yeah, this is like the question of like whoever hits the nail on the head with the culture question, they win coaching. So I'll do my best at it, but I can't promise it'll be perfect. I think a lot of it is what I say. Honestly, you're going to get the same answer that I tell our recruits. It makes it really easy to follow when a lot of the culture stuff is coming from our head coach. So Casey's really big. One of the first things that I talked to him about when I first met him was this concept of psychological safety. So all that is just like you have you feel safe to be yourself and to say what you think. And I feel safe enough to share what I think and be myself. And then inevitably when we do disagree, because that's going to happen, it doesn't, break the entire relationship. It doesn't break the entire, group to the ground. We're still able to kind of soldier on and get what we need to get done. And so just kind of hearing that from him, it's a value that he had said that is important in his relationships and his personal life. And so that's going to be a value of our program. And I think for me, that's like the overarching kind of value for our program is like, we want to create a spot that's an environment that's safe for everybody to, belong. And so I think that's the big one. Culture, I think we got really lucky. We inherited a really great group of girls from the previous staff. We are bringing in, I like to think, some more pretty awesome girls. So a lot of it's on them and they're very special and they kind of help create kind of the culture that we have. They want to win. So when you want to win, motivation's huge. So they do a lot of stuff in their spare time to help that. And we're really grateful for that. Culture, I think people like each other, which I think helps. Truly, we place a really big value on like relationships within our staff, within the girls, staff to player. And then also like girls are players to like the support staff and like our entire volleyball program as a whole. Everybody plays a part, no roles, much more important than the other. So I think just the appreciation of all that goes into helping us win makes for some pretty special people. And yeah, I think we try to do our best in terms of honesty with each other. We're not perfect. But I'm really proud of the culture that we've kind of created at UMBC Volleyball. So yeah, I don't think I answered that well at all, but psychological safety and yeah, I'm going to hang my hat on that one.
Of course, as an assistant coach, what is it like getting to see those players as a freshman put on that jersey, that gold jersey for the first time versus putting it on for the last time as a senior?
Yeah, I don't know if I could answer this question. I haven't been around coaching that long. I've only been coaching for 3 years total. So I haven't even been coaching long enough to like see the summation of an entire kind of 4-year experience. But I can speak to seeing them put on the jersey for the first time. And it's pretty special kind of watching them all kind of jog out in their UMBC volleyball jerseys. You can kind of tell when especially freshmen, I think you can kind of tell when they first put it on that it's to them, it's like what they've been working for their almost entire, like, adult life, high school life. And so it's pretty cool. We only had one senior this year, and seeing her on senior night and just kind of kind of watching her kind of take in her entire 4 years of, reflecting on all of them was pretty special too. But, call me in, 2 years when I can answer that question fully, because I don't know if I can answer that right now.
What are some of your future plans for the program moving forward?
Ooh, good question. Well, we would hope to win our conference again. That's what we're working for. But kind of a little bit down the road, hopefully the next 2 to 4 years, ideally sooner the better. We're going to try to figure out how to win that first round NCAA tournament match. It's going to be hard. It's going to require a lot of work from literally everybody in the program. But I think if you had to ask me a goal for the program, that would be it, is to hopefully win a first round NCAA match.
What advice would you give those future PSAs looking to play collegiate volleyball?
Oh, all the recruits. Oh man. The advice I have, well, I think emails are good. I would give them the advice to email often. I see all of them. I try to respond to all of them. So the more I see pop up, I'll try to respond. Yeah, I think, and then also I think the biggest one is have people in your corner, whether that's a parent or usually it's probably a more like objective, like a coach or a mentor, whoever it is, to kind of sit down with them and talk about what you want out of the college experience. I think it's really easy to get caught up in like the Louisvilles and the Texases and the Nebraskas, which are incredible programs. But I think sometimes we often forget that's like literally like 0.5 of, you know, the recruits that get to go there. So I would just say, find somebody in your life, sit down with them, talk about what you want out of your experience, and then kind of have the probably a little bit tough conversation of like the level that you likely are going to try to shoot for. Again, if your goal is Texas and Louisville and Nebraska, awesome. I'm not saying, you know, don't go for those guys. But I think a really valuable thing for like young PSAs is finding the finding the right level that you can have, you know, what you want out of a college experience. So finding that person who will kind of tell you straight and you're like, hey, I think this is where you would be best fit. And then let's maybe spend a lot more time reaching out to those coaches versus, again, like the Nebraskas and the Texases. But again, if that's your goal, go for it. I support it wholeheartedly. But yeah, that's probably my biggest piece of advice.
What advice would you give those college athletes that are looking to play professionally, whether it's overseas or Athletes Unlimited or US?
Oh my God, I would do it. Like I think we get really caught up in like the word professional volleyball player, which rightfully so, because in America, when you think of like a professional athlete, you think of like LeBron James or Tom Brady, and they're making, you know, bajillions of dollars. Volleyball, especially in Europe, you could play at any level. Like you could be D3, D2, D1. If you want to play in Europe, there are teams. If you want to play in professionally, you can absolutely find a team. Now, are you going to be making millions of dollars? I don't know. Again, hopefully that's it in the cards for you. But I would say do it. Like you can absolutely do it. Finding an agent, like I would say, talk to your college coach. Usually they have experience with like different agents. I had an agent, so he was awesome. And yes, absolutely go do it. It's 1 year. I think people get caught up in like, it's like, oh my God, I'm moving to Europe for a year. It's 1 year. If you make the best, it's kind of what you make out of it. So if you want to have a good experience, hopefully you will. But I would say absolutely go play pro. Go play pro. You learn so much more than, you know, than you would ever think. For me, like proximity is the easiest way to learn. So by legit putting yourself in a situation that's new, you're going to automatically, I think, get better just based on like allowing yourself to open up to the people around you in that country or like the traditions and the culture. Plus, you know, volleyball's fun. So people are cool. I would say go do it. Go to Europe. It's 1 year. You can always come back. Go play pro.
What advice would you give them that are looking to represent a national team like Canada or US?
Ooh, first of all, awesome. I love that for you. I love that dream. I think that's a really cool honor. Like first of all, I think the USA volleyball team, if you get an opportunity to do anything with them, that's awesome because they're pretty selective. And that's just a kind of pat on the back to USA volleyball in general, like club volleyball. Volleyball is really big in the States. So there's a lot of people that do it. if you have the opportunity to represent your country in that way, I think it's a pretty big honor. And it means you're probably pretty good at volleyball because they don't take anybody. So first of all, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that's kind of the one thing, maybe it's a little bit bigger than volleyball. You get to represent your country, and that opportunity, hopefully with whatever their situation is special. And yeah, I'm all for kind of taking opportunities when they're given to you. So I would say do it. Again, pending that it's a safe and safe thing to do. But I think that's really cool, and that you should do it.
What advice would you give people such as yourself that was a professional volleyball player getting into college coaching?
Ooh, college coaching. It's I know probably everybody says this, but it's about who you know. So the more that you can talk to people and talk to people who are in college coaching, I think it helps, because the college coaching wheel is always turning. So there's always jobs open. There's always, kind of ways to meet people and get in. And then hopefully you meet the right people and you have a lasting impression on them, and then you get a job. It's hard. I would say, like, it's not an easy industry to crack, especially like if you're not, if you didn't grow up in it. Like I was really lucky. I played at a college Division I level. I'm a young female, which in college volleyball right now, we just happen to be in demand. So there was a little bit of privilege for me as I got into coaching. I recognize that. And I think, yeah, just the more people that you can kind of talk to and make a good impression on and get their experience. And then usually people, the more people they kind of hear of jobs. And if they think you might be a good fit, then they might call you and you can put them in contact with different coaches. So yeah, I think the more people the better. I also think that it's kind of a fine line. More people is always better, but make sure just that the relationships that you are creating with those people are genuine. Like, you can kind of tell if somebody's talking to you just because they want to talk to you for a job, or if like they actually have a genuine interest in like what your coaching experience is. And then my other piece of advice is that the volleyball world is so small, so smaller than what you would think. So just kind of always be aware that you might not know this person, but the person that you're talking to might know somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody. It's kind of that whole, small volleyball coaching world. So just making sure that, you treat people with, respect, no matter the level of, division, club, high school, Division III, NAIA, Division I, just making sure that you're treating, people with respect and that you're kind, because that, lasts and it matters.
That's great advice. Where can my listeners find you on social media along with the program at?
Oh, cool. You can find me on Twitter. Just Jaime Kosiorek is my Twitter handle. UMBC Volleyball on Instagram and Twitter. And then my personal Instagram is Jaime Kosiorek, just first and last name, JAIME, and then KOSIOREK. But yeah, that's where you can find me. Usually Instagram and Twitter. I haven't really dove into the world of TikTok yet. I don't know if I will. It scares me. TikTok's the first thing that's been invented that I actually feel old. So I don't know about TikTok, but Instagram, Twitter, I'm there. And yeah, reach out. I love to talk. So if anyone sees this and wants to talk to me, I'm there.
Thank you again, Coach Jaime Kosiorek, for your interview, and best of luck in your future at UMBC.
Thank you very much.
You can find Brandon Sports Talk on Facebook at Brandon Sports Talk, Instagram, Brandon Sports Talk, Twitter at Talk_Brandon, and you can find me on YouTube at Brandon Sports Talk. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you again, Jaime Kosiorek, for your interview, and best of luck in your future.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching Brandon Sports Talk. Please feel free to like, share, and subscribe to Brandon Sports Talk on social media and on YouTube.